Good evening, folks, and welcome to our start of the week session at the Forex Trading Room for June 16th of 2019. This is Andy Pedraza. We'll go through our regular agenda, take a look at the prior week, our currency strength meter for the prior week and the last month, our fundamental announcements calendar, a quick peek at the major pairs on the daily charts, any setups we see in progress, and a few parting words. Starting off with our long-term ledger, we have had no activity, no change there. We have the one trade open that we've had open for a few weeks. It's still evolving. Currently at profit, but still open, so no updates there. Our intermediate term ledger, we have had a few trades close against us at the beginning of last week. Nothing major, but they did close against us, as you can see there on the screen. And we have open trades at profit. So they are making up for the taken loss that we had. The trades are unclosed as yet, of course, so nothing is written in stone, but we are at profit right now and making up for the slight downtick. So the trades that are open, you can see them there on the screen: a euro pound long, Kiwi dollar short, euro Swiss short, pound dollar short, and Aussie JPY short. I think all but the euro pound were at profit as the market closed on Friday. So we'll see how it opens today and where it takes us. Market's already open, it just haven't booked yet. And last but not least, our short-term ledger, we had a pretty good week. Growth of 8.74%. We have 5 trades open, and this was a unicorn week. All 5 of them ended at profit, so we had a 100% winning week. This account always closes trades out on Friday afternoon, so the results are what they are. We're currently up on this account significantly, getting close to the 10% mark overall. But actually we've crossed, we've crossed the 10%. We're getting close to the 15% mark overall, and 8.74% growth in the prior week. So those are the ledgers, notes and opportunities for improvement. Another great week on the short-term trading, as we just viewed. Already mentioned a couple of trades that closed against us entering intermediate term account, but we are making up for that on open trades. No change on the long-term account. We have a week coming up with some very critical fundamental announcements that are going to be requiring greater care with the open trades, both before and after these events. So we'll take a look at that in the calendar. Our relative strength meter for the prior week and past 30 days, the prior 30 days, we can see that it's been a mixed bag. We've had the pound, of course, has been the clear loser, with the yen being the clear winner, at least for the past month. The metals have also been doing quite well. The Aussie, the CAD, the euro, and I'm going to say that's about it. Those have been middle of the pack. I would say that the Swiss was quite a decent mover. It gained ground against everybody except the Swiss. And the Kiwi and the dollar were also losers, as they lost ground against pretty much everybody except themselves. And with the prior week, we can see that nice little, actually that graph is pretty good. It looks like they decided to go in the order of the charts, all except the Kiwi, and do a little bit of a ladder or a staircase down. So we've got, well, you can see what it is on the screen. The Kiwi was the overall loser for the week. It was the one that lost against everybody else. The dollar, the clear winner, winning against everybody except the metals. The metals continue doing quite well. So silver and gold are outperforming right now. Aussie lost, Canadian lost, and then we get to the Swiss, the euro, and the pound were, I'm going to say the Swiss and the euro pretty middle of the pack. The pound was actually a winner for the week. We did have a retracement on the pound, and the yen was also a winner, gaining against everybody except the US dollar. So that's where we are. A very interesting chart for the week. Volatility was up close to 3% for the week that just ended. And indeed, in the short-term account, we can clearly see what the volatility was and how we took advantage of it. And now we get to the calendar. So we have quite a few interesting fundamentals coming up. We're going to be trading 4 of them live. We have the RBA, or Reserve Bank of Australia, meeting minutes on Monday evening. So that's going to be at 9:30 p.m. We will be moving the evening session of the trading room to accommodate for that. So we'll be starting out at 9 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. tomorrow. On Wednesday, we have the Fed interest rate decision coming out of the U.S., accompanied by press conferences and monetary policy statements, economic projections, and whatnot, all coming out at the same time at 2 p.m. So we will be trading that one live, and we'll be opening the trading room up a little bit earlier. In this case, we're going to be starting at 1:30 p.m. instead of 2. And in the evening, we have the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. Now, the Japanese have been uncommonly late with these announcements for quite a while now. So I'm going to just take this one with a grain of salt. So we'll be trading it live, but I'm not going to move the evening session. We're going to have the regular evening session at 8, and then we'll figure out what time the Japanese are actually releasing their interest rate decision and trade that accordingly. So I'll do my best to give a precise time as we get closer. But it's been very hard to pin them down of late. So I have little hope, but we'll give it a shot. And then on Thursday, we have the Bank of England interest rate decision. That's going to be an interesting one. Not that I expect them to change their interest rate, but it's always it always makes the market get bumpy, and sometimes we can trade that to our advantage. So those are going to be the 4 we're going to be trading live. There's your calendar, and of course, this will be sent out via email as both confirmation and reminder. And with that, we move into our chart. So we're going to start out with oil. Oil has had a bad 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, it's been a complete collapse after the nice little bullish rise that it had. That being said, we are getting a bit of a double bottom there, so it may have bottomed out yet again. Didn't quite go back to the beginning, so that's good. It's still technically bullish, but it's definitely taken a pause. So it's dropped more than $8 at this point off its actually more than $12 off its high. And still going. So we'll see where it takes us. Again, this is probably going to be more interesting for those trading the Canadian dollar. But even in that case, the Canadian has been a little bit disconnected from oil for a while. So it's not had that much of an impact, neither the rise nor the fall so far, but still something we want to keep an eye on what oil is doing overall. Euro dollar, we had the euro dollar break out of its channel, and then in the past week it broke right back in with a vengeance. So we had a nice little euro drop. We did take advantage of this one. I forget in which account, but we did trade this one very nicely as it came back into the channel. Now we're going to have to wait as the week begins to see if it's going to do a channel cross and we can take advantage of it, or if it's still playing right up near the top of the channel. So too soon to tell, but definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Pound dollar, as we mentioned, the pound had a pretty decent week, except against the dollar. So this one definitely suffered quite a bit. And we did take advantage of it. We had a pending order on the pound dollar, which did get triggered. It is carrying profit. Some of that profit is already protected via trailing stop. So we'll see where it continues. That's an open trade, so nothing set in stone, but it was looking very, very promising as of Friday evening. USD/JPY, pretty much nothing happened to it last week. It was as flat can be, and indeed, it's the second week it does that. So it's really not giving us anything to latch onto. USD Canadian, all the Canadian pairs did a severe retrace after the prior week's nice performance. So they've gone back up to the Ichimoku cloud in the case of the USD CAD, as well as back towards the old trend line. And well, the Canadian can't catch a break. So it was looking like a nice breakout, but it very quickly failed. Well, that's about all we can say for it. So we'll wait on a good opportunity to trade it in either direction. USD Swiss, much like the USD CAD, all the dollar pairs indeed are pretty much without exception. Maybe the one that didn't move was the USD JPY, but everything else seemed to have gone into dollar strength, especially towards the end of the week. This one is no exception. So it did retrace back to a prior level of support resistance as well as the prior trend. However, it's nowhere near the Ichimoku cloud, and it is going down very nicely still. So it is in a bearish pattern still. So we'll wait for a good opportunity on that. Aussie dollar, again, dollar strength. So this one went down very nicely. And again, we traded this one successfully. I think this was our biggest money maker on the short-term account. It is sitting at support, however, so we'll have to see if it's going to pierce and continue down, or we're going to see a bounce and a test of some of those higher levels. So a lot of these pairs are looking very good for the beginnings of a breakout, but again, hasn't happened yet. So we have to trade them very carefully until we have confirmation. Kiwi dollar, same thing, and off of the Kiwi dollar. And well, we'll continue looking for the opportunities to keep on trading it. I think this is another one where we have an open trade on the intermediate term account. Aussie Canadian, and probably the one Canadian pair that didn't do a retrace was the Aussie CAD. And again, because the Australian had even worse problems. And this is our one open trade on the long-term account. And it's come back into the fold. We were carrying quite a significant loss as it made its way up that little triangle that you see right before the current price. And then it just went all the way back down, bringing us back to break even, and then continuing to the point where we're carrying a small profit as I took this chart. So again, that's a long-term trade, so I'm not too worried about what it does any given day or week, but just a report that it is coming back to us, or has come back to us. Euro Swiss bounced off the top of the channel and then collapsed. It did trigger us into an entry on the intermediate term account, still open, and we're looking to see how far down it goes, and we'll continue to ride it until it stops. It is looking nicely bearish, and it is following the channel. So you've got two things in favor of a bearish trade on this pair. Nothing, of course, is guaranteed, but all the triggers and signals are there that this is still going to be a sell. Euro pound took a little bit of a breather last week. We're in long on this pair. We're carrying a very small loss on the intermediate term account, I think in the nature of 20 pips as the market closed on Friday. And well, we'll stick with it until it either breaks out towards the top or takes us out on a retrace. We are carrying quite a lot of profit already taken on the euro pound as we traded this last bullish move almost since the beginning there at the bottom in two separate trades. So this is our third trade. It's still looking bullish, but it is taking a breather. And every time one of these pairs takes a breather, there is a chance, of course, that it's going to start a retracement, but we'll play that one by ear and we'll see what this week brings us. Euro JPY finally turned around, or looks like it's turning around. We took a nice chunk of profit out of the Euro JPY as well on that turn. We caught it very near the beginning when it started happening, and well, that's all we can say. I'm still waiting for it to break the support of the prior low. that would be the trigger for a longer term trade, but it's starting to look as if it might actually happen. So another one we're going to be keeping an eye on to see if there's any good opportunities. Euro Canadian, nothing much happening there other than the CAD weakening as pretty much it did against all the other currencies last week. Not a big movement, however, it did weaken, but not as much as with other pairs, as the euro has also had problems. And we can see that this pair is very sideways. Pound JPY, quite a nice mover. All the JPY pairs except the USD JPY were good movers last week. And this one is starting to get to the point where I would like to short it. I needed to break that level of support it's currently sitting on. So this one is probably top of my radar right now for a trade, either short term for the week if I see it start picking up speed, or a longer term trade, perhaps even both. So we'll see what happens with this one. Aussie JPY, again, we took a nice chunk of profit out of this one. All the yen pairs were good trades last week, except for that one exception against the dollar. So we took some profit off of this one as well on the short-term account. And I think yes, we did. We actually opened a longer-term trade towards the end of the week. So we exited at profit on the short term, and we entered a position on the longer term, as it definitely did break through support and is now looking for a new bottom. So we'll see where that one takes us. Euro New Zealand gave us a new high last week, actually gave us a couple of new highs last week, but very indecisive. It tended to drop back almost immediately. And the only movement was very late on Friday, when I was reluctant to enter into any new trades. So we're going to see what happens as the week kicks off. It is looking like a breakout towards the top, but I still want to see a little bit more action from the Euro New Zealand before I go all in. Pound Canadian, even against the pound, the CAD had a bit of a mixed showing. So we did have a retrace, but towards the end of the week, unlike the other CAD pairs, we saw the CAD regaining a little bit of strength. Didn't go anywhere near the start of the week, but at least it gave it a shot. So the pound seems to have been a little bit shaky towards the end. Guys, I'm getting a little background noise. If you're not talking, which means if you're not me, please mute. And that is our almost last chart. And the last chart now, the pound Swiss, again, very sideways the past couple of weeks, but starting to show some activity towards the end of last week. So all the pound pairs were really doing a retrace into pound strength, but a very minor one. And while we were waiting it out, we didn't trade the pound much till the end of the week. It looks like this week may be a better mover for the pound. So that's our charts. Setups we see in progress at this point. As we can see, towards the end of the week, the pound did resume its descent, and that should be the direction we're going to be looking for as this new week begins. So we have to see if that continues. I don't want to be entered into sideways trades that we're going to be holding on to for a long time before they move, which is why I require that they give us some sort of movement before I enter a trade. So high on the radar, high on the radar, the pound pairs for this week. The Swiss pairs, they are tracking sideways week to week. They go down one week, up the other, down the next, up the other. And I'm still waiting for a break of that pattern in either direction. But they are looking very active. Even when they're going sideways, they're going up and down by 100 or so pips, which even there you can make some profit if you time it correctly. So we'll see what we can do with them. The CAD, much like the Swiss, had a retrace this week for no good reason, but it's still looking good for strength at some point. So I've got both of those on my radar. USD pairs, they started the week poorly, but ended with a bang as the dollar pairs moved briskly into USD strength. This after the poor showing on the non-farm payroll the week before. So that seemed to affect the dollar all through the beginning of the week. And then Thursday, Friday, it just went to overdrive and went into dollar strength. And we were on the right side of that. So we did quite well with that. And last but not least, the yen pairs. The yen continues to strengthen against everybody except the dollar, as I pointed out in the charts, where everything was, was reasonably flat. That may change at any point. So when you see a lagger, one of these pairs that isn't moving like the rest of the market, you just got to give it time. Usually they catch up with a vengeance at some point. So we're keeping an eye on the USD JPY for any opportunities. Those are the main setups that I see in progress. Of course, we're not going to be jumping into trades based on that, but it does tell us what we need to keep an eye on, and be very, monitor it very carefully as the week begins. Some parting words here. Being protective is going to be the theme for this, for these parting words. Weeks like the one that just ended always make people wonder why we don't trade at higher lot sizes, and that's normal. Even experienced traders fall into that trap now again. The problem is that when you're looking at a week that just ended, a month that just ended, a year that just ended, everything looks crystal clear. You can clearly see that the dollar went up, the dollar went down, whatever it is that happened, it's crystal clear. When you're in the middle of it, it's completely different. So you have to be very, very conservative in your trading. If you trade at a higher lot size and you have a week like the one that just ended, sure, you doubled your account maybe if you played your cards right. But that's not the point. The point is that if the week hadn't ended that way, you could have blown through half your account without even noticing. And recovering from that, let me tell you, takes weeks, even months. Since you don't know ahead of time whether you're going to win or you're going to lose, being consistent, trading low lot sizes, trading something that if you lose, it's not going to wipe out your account or cause you to lose sleep, that, and it may be counterintuitive at some point, but that is what's going to make you money in the long run. Even if some of the weeks that are really good, you don't take as much money as you could have, there are a lot more weeks where you would have lost a lot more money if you traded less conservatively. So when you have a losing week, it's going to erase weeks of gains if you're not careful. Safety has to be foremost. And the profits are going to be gradual but steady. But even so, you're still going to have weeks like the past one where you're going to outperform your norm. And on 8.5 whatever percent week we had, that is extraordinary. Could have been higher, of course, but that is still a fantastic week. So slow and steady wins more races than anything else. And that is going to be it for me this week. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Okay, then thank you very much. That's going to be all for me today. And happy Father's Day for all the fathers out there. And I will see you again in tomorrow's session. Thank you very much.